Danny, we've been having him on our platform, and this is one of the classes in our entire series focusing on being a buy and hold investor. And Danny has over 2 decades of hands-on experience in United States. He has done remote investing, has, you know, thousands of transactions, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from him and learn from him, especially with the major real estate crash as part of his experience, how he looks at real estate. And Danny focuses on empowering investors with practical knowledge and sharing not just the successes, but also, and actually more importantly, the lessons learned through the I wouldn't say failure, but kind of the setbacks that we encounter in real estate investing. And I thought that's just so valuable because it's much better to learn from someone else's mistake than paying for it yourself. If I were to pay some kind of tuition, I would prefer to learn it from a class before I learn it in real life, and kind of, where the price tag is a lot more expensive than just like jumping into something. So, just kind of learning something, and especially when it's kind of actionable and practical, I find that as a really crucial part of being a real estate investor. So without further ado, I want to welcome Danny up here on stage. And my friend, the stage is yours, Danny.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Steve. A pleasure. I just wish, while you were talking, I'm just was wishing in my mind, when are we going to do it this morning? Introduction, face to face with a coffee together, because it's kind of strange that we meet every week, but virtually. So I hope you're having a good trip you're in Florida as we speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. The stage is yours, my friend.
Give me 1 second. I need your guys' help just to make sure. Is my background mirror or looks okay?
It says simply do it, and it's not mirrored. It looks perfect to me.
Looks perfect. Okay. Very important in our age of visualization. All right, Steve, thank you very much. Have a terrific, I know you have running through your busy day, so I appreciate you taking the time to making the intro.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy it, and appreciate you as well.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another morning session. Always a pleasure to teach, to talk, to educate, to share. I really hope, my wish, my favorite part of those sessions is actually when we get to the end and we get to have not just your questions, but I call it Q&C, more questions and conversations. So if you're bear with me while I walk through everything, we can definitely get to that part of the session, and we can talk about different things related directly to what I'll cover. Of course, we can expand it beyond to other real estate related questions or matters, no problem. So I just want to say the format is as such that when I switch to the slide, it kind of makes me, I'm unable to see your questions and comments. So right now I see all the good mornings coming through the comments. When I'm done, I'll switch back to this so I can see your questions and comments. So by all means, put them in and we will go back to them immediately after I'm done with the presentation side of it. Let's start with sharing my screen. Give me a moment. Okay. All right. Very good. I don't think I can see questions here. Oh. Not while I'm speaking. Okay. Okay. And I'm hoping, give me a second, logistics, turn camera on. Okay, it should be on now, I hope. Always a bit of a challenge. All right. I do want to mention one thing. This presentation is dependent on AI, right? And the only way I've used AI in this presentation is all the images, because I found it to be much easier to process images on AI than looking for images online. And that's the extent of AI involvement. Everything else, content, experience, knowledge, Everything has nothing, no AI involved whatsoever. So I have nothing in AI here besides those images. If you were having about a month ago some challenges with the your ChatGPT and it was slow, it's because I was crunching images like crazy. All right, so just be aware of that. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey, and then you'll understand where I'm coming from in order to share with you this information. So I started investing in 2002. That's actually 22, 23 years ago, while living in Europe. I did my first rental property back then outside of Phoenix, Arizona. I then did two other small investments. And then in 2004, I moved to the States with a clear goal, purpose, mission in life to start to do real estate full time, right? And that's what I proceeded to do. So through 2004 and 2005 and 6, etc., I was able to acquire a few more properties. Things were doing well. Those of you who know what happened before the crash of 2008, I was able to refinance, I think, my first rental property once or twice, maybe twice, and then using those refi funds and buying more rental properties. So that kind of helped me expand and move quicker. And then 2008 came. And when the crash came, it kind of wiped a lot of, for the time being, it wiped a lot of the equity. It didn't just wipe the equity, it took the equity down. So obviously I had multiple properties worth, or mortgage is much higher than their market value. Maybe we'll talk about that too. It also kind of created a situation where it was such a big storm, it shook the entire foundation of my operation, of how I go about investing. And pretty much when I was coming out of the crash of 2008, all licking woods, suffered scars, financial scars, emotional scars, and of course, I went through foreclosures as well. It was unpleasant to say the least, but it also forced me to really dive into things. I mean, really dive into things, into details, into nuances of real estate. And I found myself debating, exploring, researching really a lot of nuances or fine details related to real estate in order to come out of the problems that I'm facing. Also, I knew that every time I'm researching something, learning something, I can not only help myself, I can help my clients. Many of them are in a similar situation. So for those 2009, 10, 11 years, it was licking wounds, getting out of troubles, minimizing damages. But at the same time, I really had to kind of look inside and say, okay, what just happened here? Kind of get over the shock and then start basically redesigning my system from scratch. So for me, the crash of 2008 and what came after it was very devastating in many ways, but it was an amazing opportunity to really look deep down and change everything in the way I conduct my investments changed. I'm talking about how I pick people and teams, how I choose markets, how I choose properties, how I analyze properties, how I evaluate properties. Everything changed to the core. Got more systemized and processes, more outline, very, very clear path. Everything. I mean, it's unbelievable. Kind of build the operation from scratch. And for me, the 2008 crash was also not something that I had to go through as my suffering, but I think it created that opportunity. I'm a graduate. I'm not a survivor. I'm a graduate. And the one thing that I told myself is, if I had to go through that major issues, at least I'll gain the knowledge and understanding and experience, and I will bring it forward to my base, to my network, to the people that I work with, so they can actually leverage my bad experience, my good experience, and hopefully avoid the mistakes that I've done, so I can help them not even get to that area. So I can tell you that since 2010-ish, it's been very successful. I'm not saying it's real estate. There's always issues and problems and challenges, but it's been, for the most part, very successful. I have clients that have still working with me since 2010, 11, 12, that are still buying. Now, many of them are selling properties, doing 1031 exchanges, buying more, etc. So that's kind of where my process has been. Historically speaking, more recent years, the past 15 years, has been really involved doing many transactions, mostly out-of-state rental properties, and really getting into the depth of things with my clients, with how we operate, all kind of basing, sitting or starting, or the core of how everything got started on the chapter 2, I should say, after the crash. So it all comes down to that area. Before I dive into what I want to share with you, all those lessons that I've learned over those 20 some years and a lot of activity, I do want to mention that we are doing a 5-webinar series. This is webinar number 3. We have 2 more coming up once a week. The next 2 are March 27. Look from the bottom up. March 27. I'm gonna touch on the LLCs idea. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, or truly fully misunderstanding, of the whole concept of LLCs, which is always a topic that comes up. I'm going to dive into it. I'm not going to kill the idea. I'm just going to put it in perspective, right? I'm going to tell you when you should consider, or how you should consider, etc. So I'm going to go into that idea from an investor standpoint, not from a legal standpoint. Then we're gonna do a session, and that'll be the last session of the series. This is, again, we are on webinar number 3. We've done 2 already. The last one will talk about some advanced concepts, ideas, how you can elevate your operation, elevate your investment, kind of take it to the next level, beyond the basics. So it's kind of beyond the basic. If you are, I'm just going to say this, if you are in Southern California, right, and you want to join us in person, not online, and of course, if you're not in Southern California and you want to come, you're still welcome. We are holding, it's been a while, our first real in real life, meet in person session. I'm bringing another local speaker, a very experienced investors and broker, to talk about the local markets and update. We're going to share more about real estate and concepts and how to get started and how to many things. So it's going to be a little bit of networking, but mainly 2 speakers, very experienced, many years experienced speakers, to share about the local market and about strategies about investing. That's going to be in Orange County, California. You're most welcome to join us on May 8th, evening, Thursday. Okay. A little bit about my track record. In my career, I've helped clients buy something around 5,000 out-of-state long-term rental properties, single family, duplexes, fourplexes, give or take 5,000. I stopped counting a while ago. That's mainly buying, but a lot of sales as well. I've done about 90 out-of-state flips, anywhere from buying properties at the live auction and the courthouse steps and bidding, all the way to buying houses that need nothing, maybe cleaning, maybe not even that, and all the way to houses that need full renovation, months of renovation, dealing with the fun stuff of GCs and all of that. So I've had that too. So I have a lot of experience with that. I actually retired from the flipping business in the simple sense of it, in the simple sense of flipping, around 2018. So I'm no longer involved with those things. I've always done long-term rentals and flips for many years, and then I just decided to retire that side and focus only on the long-term rentals. I've done a little bit land investing. In the past year, I've started looking and doing just a little bit subject to and hybrid and MTR, midterm rentals as well. So I'm kind of trying to dive into more higher cash flow generating opportunities in the during the challenging interest rate that we're having and challenging cash flow that we're facing and seeing these days. I'm going to talk about multiple things. I'm going to take one at a time. I'm going to talk about negative cash flow and high leverage and analysis and borrowing and your job and rat race. We're going to cover all those coming things in the coming, 45 minutes or so. Okay, remember to drop questions in the comments, which I will come back to when I'm done with this, the next 10-ish slides or so. All right. When I get asked what is probably the number one or the top two mistakes or lessons I've learned from the crash of 2008, it will be negative cash flow. And I really want to put it in perspective. When we were buying properties before the crash of 2008, by design, we were highly leveraged, knowing the property will generate a negative cash flow of maybe $100 or $200 or $400, even $700 a month. And the idea was, if I'm buying a property that's appreciating $20,000, $30,000 a year, but it's generating $5,000 a year in negative cash flow, yeah, I might as well just focus on buying many such properties and not worry about the cash flow while I have other resources in my life, like my job, to pay for those negative cash flows, right? So that was kind of the philosophy that I followed. At the time, I was getting to be a beginner, getting traction, getting more experience, but I'm not a very savvy, not many years of investing. That kind of was the philosophy for probably 3-4 years or so before the crash. The reality hit on the crash, where all those negative cash flows were all of a sudden impossible to carry because my income, which was real estate dependent, dropped dramatically. So if in 2006 I had to cover, let's just say, $5,000 a month in negative cash flow, or to cover all those, lower rent compared to the leverage and the mortgage expenses and all the expenses in 2008-9, that $5,000 a month wasn't there the same way, and it created a problem, a big problem for me. And not only me, many people felt that way. So the first lesson was, I should have bought a smaller number of properties and stick to buying with a break even. I actually prefer positive cash flow, right? So kind of getting a little bit, what I'm trying to say, I was very aggressive about buying before, and then the lesson learned, negative cash flow, it can blow up in my face or in someone's face, which it did. And I should have bought less, more stable, and could have get out of the crash in a much better way with more properties that some of them have lost during those years. Related to that, kind of the other, or the coexist with the negative cash flow, was the fact that we were buying with high leverage, meaning 5% down, 10% down were very common. No money down. I've seen that. I'm not talking about the crazy of the mortgage market. I'm just saying, as a responsible investor, just because I can put no money down, is it the right thing for me to do? Right? Maybe the answer is yes on property number one and number two, but not necessarily a good advice on number 3 or 4, etc. Okay, so it all comes down to the same place. What would be a safer way to go about it? We were buying with high leverage. Those of you been around probably remember the 80-10-10 mortgage, which was 80% first mortgage, 10% second mortgage, and 10% down payment. I've definitely had at least one mortgage that I can remember I've put 5% down. I've met people who told me they're doing no money down. When you do all those high leverage mortgages with high interest rate, the cash flow will suffer, obviously, right? So it comes back to the previous slide. So just to be cautious about it, even today, when I work with clients about refinancing or buying more, we measure what's happening in their life as a whole to see how, the type of leverage they should consider taking on a case by case, because it's going to be a different situation and answer when they buy property number 3 and completely different than property number 5, right? We have to evaluate different things. So just something to be concerned. Those I would say the two top mistakes. The third one, and I'm just gonna as a side note, the last webinar a week ago that we did on in this series was exactly on the correct and the right and the full way to analyze properties. So if you were not here last week, you should reach out either to Steve and the team at Real Estate IQ or to us and ask the recording, and you can get access to the recording because I dive into that analysis a whole session, right? So I'm not going to dive into it right now because it took a good hour, but I will tell you, we were the way I'm laughing because it was, I can't believe this is how we did stuff. The analysis method was so superficial, was so limited to compare to how I go about analyzing and evaluating properties today. I can't believe we bought properties like this. I'm laughing at myself, right? The crazy thing is, I still see people using the same method they used 10, 20 years ago or whatever, like I was using, and they're still using it. And I'm like, this is how you analyze properties? This is still how you do it? I'm like, I'm shocked. So back then, poor, very superficial investment process or analysis process, evaluation process. Today, it's not even one step above. Back then was like, back then was one-on-one, we are at the PhD or MBA level of analyzing now the way we approach it. I really recommend you take the time to watch the webinar from last week because we dive into it, and there's a lot of wisdom points about the whole process of analyzing, which is really critical when we're talking about investment properties. The next thing I want to say is what I call boring real estate. And I think boring real estate is sexy. And I'll tell you why. A lot of people are chasing the weird combo, special situation. There is nothing wrong about it, right? But when you're chasing the subject to or the seller distress, which again, nothing wrong, there's money to be made with it. A lot of time what you will see is it's just you waste a lot of energy to get to the point that you buy one house and you get frustrated, a lot of frustration along the way. And maybe it's not even a good fit for you while you have a full-time job, and it's hard to navigate those time-consuming efforts in order to get that property. So for that reason, if you are like a lot of my clients, busy with a good income and busy between work and family and life, you don't really have the time to chase those special opportunities unless you work with us and we do the chasing for you. But even if you work with us, many of my clients and me too, I can tell you that I probably regret selling, I don't want to say all the flip properties that I've done, but most of them by far, right? Because for the most part, they were all in good areas, and I should have just renovated them like a burr, put a tenant inside and hang on to those properties because they did so well just because we bought them in good areas and kept them long term. And I love that concept of boring real estate. Boring real estate means it's not requiring a lot of my time and energy to supervise, to oversee, even if I'm using a property manager, right? So boring real estate can really fit into the life of the busy individual, and it nicely integrated into that life and can operate somewhat in the background, right? So boring is beautiful. Do not underestimate the powerness of boring real estate. I want to talk about your job for a moment. And you know what? It's kind of funny that I don't hear it as much as I used to many years ago when people were coming to meet with me and they would say, I'm looking to leave my job and I want to start doing real estate full time, which I get it. I've done it. I had my high-tech job as well that I left for real estate, and I fully get it. The problem, there's kind of problem that most people don't understand, that even if you quit your job today and you start doing real estate tomorrow, then a lot of stress will start piling up. Because number one, even if you started investing already, as you may know, real estate many times does not generate income immediately. If it's rentals, it's like I always like to look at the income as a loaf of bread. If I'm buying a rental property, I'm getting small slices every month. If I'm doing a flip, I may get the entire loaf if I'm successful in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, right? So it's never kind of, not never, but many times it's not supporting my life with the income. And if my income is critical to the household, that's going to be challenging. That's one. Number two, when you have a job and a stable job and it's generating income to your life, guess what? The lenders love you, right? When you don't have a job and you don't have that 2 years of track record, the lenders do not like you at all. So you leaving your job first and then starting to figure out real estate is going to be very challenging to do real estate if you want to tap into mortgages or conventional mortgages, of course, with other like hard money and private money and DSCR loans is a little bit different. But conventional mortgages that are usually the best terms, it's going to be very, very challenging. Plus the stress that you will have from not having the income and not money coming in, and all of a sudden you are in a stressful situation trying to figure out what to do. And you know what? Making decisions while being stressed is not a very good strategy. Actually, I can tell you from experience, it is bad strategy. That's why I want to suggest maybe you need to rethink the rat race the way we know it and maybe reconfigure it. And there's probably one thing that I can suggest that it's not always easy to do, but the biggest challenge a W-2 person usually have is busy. I work, even if my job is just 9 to 5 or whatever, and it's 4 or 5 days a week, it's very hard for many of us to finish our work day at 5 or 6, and then we have kids and activities, and then to find time to do real estate, right? I mean, really to do real estate. It's hard to allocate the time, and it's hard to allocate the energy, at 8, 9 p.m. after a full work day or after a full work week, and to real estate, it is challenging. So that's why, if you think about it, and if you're able to set it up, maybe there's a way for you to find the position that will be 50%, of your time, maybe 80%, maybe full, 100% or 40 or 45 hours a week, but is not as demanding. So if you are now maybe a high-level manager, maybe there's something you can do within the company that will move you to a more relaxed position, right? You'll still maybe work all those hours, but at least you'll have more energy and time, even at the expense of getting less income in order to allocate that to real estate. So for me, the rat race 2.0 is not you leaving your job, but is you reconfiguring your job so you're still attractive to lenders on one end, and at the same time have the money, the income that comes in from your job to support your life. You're not stressful, and that will help you navigate towards real estate. And maybe this rat race 2.0 is something you need to do for the next 2 years while you're transitioning. Instead of doing it kind of almost overnight, maybe there's a transitional phase you can do in order to get to the point that in 2 or 3 years, now you can actually phase out completely from your W-2 work and focus on the real estate. So I think that's smarter, that's better, maybe safer, but definitely less stressful. And remember, mortgages. It's really important to have access to those beautiful mortgages if you want to leverage and kind of build real estate and build wealth. The next thing I want to mention is what I've seen over the years, that a lot of people are really have not perfected the art of asking questions. Okay, the art of asking questions, and maybe it sounds trivial, and maybe you don't even think that you're one of them, and it's okay. But I will tell you that I want to share with you what I found about this kind of uh, um, um, idea of the art of asking questions, and why it's important for you to pay attention to this one, and hopefully execute on it as well. I'll tell you what I do when I have a meeting. Let's just take an example with an attorney, right? Whatever the situation, I need the attorney to review some documents, or there is something I need to run by them about a situation that I'm not sure, right? I'm using attorney as an example, but that can be a property manager, that can be a realtor, that can be another agent, that can be, I don't know, CPA, whatever. Even me, right? Let's just say you're scheduling time to meet with me. Take the time and start putting your questions for the meeting. Okay. And what I mean, take the time, is usually I open a file and I start putting the questions, and I may come back to those questions over a few days or a week, and I'll just add questions. I don't even edit it. I just add those questions, and maybe I'll get to 5 questions, maybe I'll get to 10 questions, maybe general question. If it's the attorney, I may say general things about the conversation and very specific things about the conversation. And then what I'll do next, probably before the meeting, I will either just before the meeting is taking place, or the day before, I'll review the questions that I've gathered over the past week. Let's say there's 10 of them. I'll probably clean something that I don't really need, and I'll find that there's maybe some questions are pretty much phrased differently, but it's the same question. And I will even organize the order. Sometimes I do like to plant the same question in a different way to ask it, and then I space it from its similar question. So I do those things because I want to see how people respond sometimes to one question, and I want to see if I get a different answer if I ask the same question differently. So I want to space it. And then if I have the time, I will send those questions to the other party, and I will give them time to review the questions. And let me tell you why I do that. When I get on a call with the attorney, with a CPA, with another agent, whatever, right? They know my questions already. I am prepared for the meeting. I'm gonna get the most out of this valuable time as much as I can. And if I'm not prepared, I will have many more questions coming up afterwards, and that will be more sluggish and more takes more effort to answer. I want to get as much as possible from the time I'm having this meeting or conversation, and I want to be ready. And if the other party has the questions, guess what? I would assume, and that's usually how people behave, they get ready and they review the questions and get the answer. So that means instead of me jumping on a call, telling them my questions, they say, okay, let me research it and get back to you. Oh my God, my meeting is already starting, I'm already starting meeting number 1 at meeting number 2. And for me, that is more efficient. I love efficiency. This is advancing the meeting itself. It kind of puts us all on the same page. And that is something that I found that for me, it progresses, it advances the knowledge, the answer, the conversation, it saves on time, etc. I still do it. I've been doing it for probably 20 years, right? I still do it. I had a call yesterday with a new property management company, which when I interview a new property management company, I don't call it an interview. I call it an interrogation. I have 45 questions on my end, just written down. 45 questions that I have to go through on my end, written down. This is besides the other additional questions that will come up as part of the conversation, right? So you guys take the time, find a way on a text message, on a WhatsApp, on a file. It will benefit you tremendously if you know to ask questions and advance the conversation. It will help you. It will really help you a lot. Kind of interesting that for me, the question thing is rather simple, has a lot of value, very cheap. By the way, we sell a whole course. It's a $5,000 course online 1 hour where I'll teach you how to ask questions. But right now, I just gave you the entire course for free. So assume that you have all the knowledge about it. Use that. That's a very, very useful, small, easy to implement tool. Next thing I want to talk about, when you do real estate, be ready. If you haven't noticed already, you will hit a lot of brick walls and obstacles and challenges, a lot. And I mean a lot. When I have a transaction with one of my clients that everything goes rather smoothly, submit an offer, it got accepted, we go through the inspection and we get the inspection report, and we go back to the seller and we ask them for discount or price reduction, something, and they agree, and then we close with no hiccups, and the title and escrow communicate on time, and wire goes smoothly. And then to make it even worse, quote unquote, worse, they're able to list the house within 2 or 3 weeks. I'm a little bit jealous, I have to say, when that happens, because usually it doesn't. But then I always call them and I say, listen, that was amazing. I'm so happy that you experienced that. That, for me, shows me that we are really trying to get to this point that all my clients will have a smooth process of buying real estate and renting it, etc. This is so not typical, so not obvious, right? It's actually the exception to the rule. So be ready. Don't get discouraged when that happens. It will happen. Expect it. Actually, when it doesn't happen, be surprised, pleasantly surprised. Don't let those things knock you down, because all of those things will continue knocking you down. Rise up, find the answer, find a creative way to overcome the problem, and move on. You gotta be persistent. You gotta continue, and not give up, because real estate, it's a lot of human driven, a lot of moving parts. It's always going to be challenging you. There's always a pushback, right? So be ready for that on one end. But don't let it discourage you. Just understand that, yes, everybody's facing it. Everybody's experiencing it, right? If you are one of those people who are on Facebook and Instagram, and you're like, oh my God, this guy is doing so well, this gal is amazing, no problem whatsoever. Get real, right? They all have their challenges. Of course, nobody wants to show off those challenges. They do, right? I can tell you, just as a short story, I had a flip property outside of Salt Lake City. I'm talking about, I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and we finally got it under contract, and finally everything inspection, and there were issues, and we came back and negotiated and etc. But there was one more thing, and there was one more thing. As I was parking in the parking lot outside the UPS store to sign the documents with a notary, I get a call from the agent, and I already know, okay, what's now? There's something about the heating, something. You know what? In order to make it happen, I had to drop an additional $4,000 just before closing and signing the documents. So much so. So just to show you, I knew that I already want to move on to the next one. So it was in my best interest to kind of move on. But that was one more thing in the list of probably 10, 50 things that were challenging along that transaction. I want to give you a little suggestion how you can elevate your execution. If you're able to find one partner, and I don't mean a business partner that you will be investing together, I mean a friend, someone who is on the similar path to yours, at a similar stage of that path, beginners or more experienced. And if you're able to find that one person that you can get together once a week, twice a week, review properties, talk about the challenges, it will elevate, it will boost your success, unbelievably boost. Because, by the way, very important, one partner, not two, not a group of three, you and another one. Find that person, like the matchmaking, real estate matchmaking or real estate investing matchmaking. It will help you because you will kind of hold each other a little bit accountable. It will help, brainstorm when you're looking at something, and they looking at your friend is looking at something, and they're coming back with feedback, etc. That is pretty beneficial for you because you're gonna kind of hold each other accountable and support each other. So try to find that partner. It will help you. I know that sometimes it's hard, but I can tell you, as someone who worked with so many investors for so many years, every time I saw the couple, the friends, again, not investing together, I already knew this is going to be more successful. And it's always is. So if you can do that, find that one partner, it will help you quite a bit. There is one thing, and you know what, I'm going to maybe instead of talking about it much, I would kind of open it up as a question that really bugs me. Really, I've been trying to find it an answer for it for many years. And I still don't have, I have answers, but I don't have like a really good answers. I just, I found that many investors, they buy one rental property, maybe second rental properties, and they stop. Maybe third and they stop. Maybe fourth and they stop, right? And then I'm not talking about necessarily going about it and buying 4 or 3 in the next 6 months. They may buy 1 to this year and 2 next year and whatever. But I know from my clients that I know them well. They have the income. They're busy, I'm sure. They have the credit. So mortgages, so money is not the problem. Mortgages are not the problem. Support is not the problem. Obviously, not only that, they are a living proof many times of the success, right? And when I say success, I don't mean an overnight wealth. I just mean they see the challenges, the frictions, the dealing with property managers, dealing with tenants, problems, etc. All of a sudden, they understand that this crazy beast of real estate is tenable and manageable, and it's actually, when you buy well and hold it for a few years, can be very financially beneficial. Very, right? And it's relatively passive. It's not 100% passive. We know that. Relatively passive. And my question is, why did you stop at X number of properties when you can for sure do more, right? Usually the answer is, you're right, I talked about it, got busy, life, traveling, change job, bought a house. Okay, I get it. But really, why did you stop? Now, I can tell you that I have many clients that have continuously bought. There are years that were more busy buying, years that were less busy buying. I just had a conversation Monday night with clients that started buying with me about 11 years ago, I would say. They have 7 or 8 properties. They already sold one of them and did 1031 exchange and bought 2 more. Now we're talking about selling 2 more in the coming months, doing 1031 exchange and buying 2 more each. So 4 more properties. That will bring them to about 11 or 12 properties, plus the 1 or 2 more properties they're going to buy from their cash. I mean, that's a plan for the next year. Doing some changes and kind of transitioning from 7 or 8 properties at the moment. By the time this all settles down, there'll probably be 12 or 13, depending if they'll execute everything. They never stop. I mean, there were years that they slowed down because life, and there were years that they picked up. They never stop. And you know what? When I have a conversation with them, there's never a conversation that they need a proof that this is working. They're living proof firsthand with the challenges along the way that this is working, and how much wealth they've accumulated just for slowly buying rental properties with mortgages over the years, right? So I have many of those stories, and I love seeing that. It's just always a pleasure to see that's happening, but I never understand why people kind of really stop at small number of properties when they see what it can do for their financial future. And I'm kind of raising it as a question, as something I'm not sure. If you have an answer, that'll be great. But I want to turn it around to you and say, if you are in that position, why did you stop? And if you are not in that position because you're actively buying, when you get to the point that you kind of pause, ask yourself, is it the right thing to do, and not continue buying more. The next thing I want to tell you and ask you and want to make sure you're aware of it, I see a lot of what I call the herd mentality, right? I know it's shocking that you see herd mentality, and I really never understand why people use that herd mentality. And let me tell you what I usually see when it comes to real estate. Someone reaches out and want to meet, and they got my info from their friend, and their friend bought with us 2 years ago, and they so happen they know 3, 4, 5 people in their social circles that also invested. All happens to be that they invested in, I don't know, Oklahoma City. Okay, I'm just speaking on Oklahoma City, which we have been actively in Oklahoma City for 10 years, up until 10 years ago. Oklahoma City, great. Why do you want to go to Oklahoma City? From all the options, my friends went to Oklahoma City. My friends went to Oklahoma City 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And my question is, just because your friend decided to go to Oklahoma City 3 years ago, even a year ago, you know what, even 6 months ago, is it the right market for you, or is it the right market altogether, or is it the right market to invest in, right? And I'm picking on Oklahoma City because me personally, after 10 years of in multiple years of activities and properties in Oklahoma City, I've seen Oklahoma City performance comparing at the same time to other markets around the country, and I'm unhappy with the results. And for that reason, I decided to discontinue buying in Oklahoma City. It's nothing says about Oklahoma City. I have a lot of affection to Oklahoma City as an area. I know a lot of people that I really care about in Oklahoma City. Few of the best teams I've worked with over the years in Oklahoma City. When I visit, it's great. I owned in Oklahoma City, but right now in our conversation, I am having a conversation as an investor. I want to make the best decisions for myself and for my clients. Why do you want to go to Oklahoma City? And again, guys, I'm just speaking on Oklahoma City. It can be, I've had that with other markets around the country many years, and I just understand that the decision behind going to a certain area or a decision to do something is a herd decision. Everybody's doing it. I'll just follow the herd because obviously my friend know what they're doing, right? Maybe your friend knows what they're doing. Maybe your friend has no idea what they're doing, and that friend only followed another friend, right? Who maybe knew what he was doing back then. And maybe it's too late now, or not as good market as you can do elsewhere. Don't be a herd, right? Find your path, explore, research, ask questions, right? Don't just copy paste what someone else is doing. Even if Oklahoma City is a great market to invest in, maybe it's not the right market for you right now as a person, as an experienced or inexperienced investor. So my suggestion for you is don't be part of the herd. Find your niche, find your way, what is suitable for you, not to your friend, right? Your friend has high income and a lot of money, and they're in different position in their life, and you are a little bit more tight, just as an example, or vice versa. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is what I think is really a lot of people are not paying or not giving enough credit to having a proper guidance in your life. And when I say guidance, I mean someone like myself, but not necessarily me, because it can be a different type of investment. Someone who's been doing this, your niche, is been going through the trenches, that maybe created systems and processes, that has the knowledge, the experience, the expertise, etc., and they can help guide you through. And the reason I say a lot of people lack that guidance is because I think they're either not looking for it or not willing to pay for it. And here's how it looks like in real life. When you have that resource in your life, that is, let's just call it the expert, the consultant, the mentor, the someone you can tap into, when a situation happens, you can call up or send an email and have a conversation and see how you can navigate out of that situation. That is beneficial. Having the right person can be even more beneficial, that that person will help you avoid that situation in the first place or minimize the chance of getting into that situation in the first place, which for me, it's even better than calling after the fact and getting some help, right? I'll take it one step further, and this is something I've heard myself from my clients multiple times over the years, and in different versions of what I'm about to say. Danny, if it wasn't for you, I would have not invested in real estate in the first place, because you took me by the hand, you showed me what to buy, you showed me how you look at it, you showed me how to analyze, you even told me what the risks and problems and challenges and how we can lower them or mitigate them, and you fed me that information, so I was able to build the confidence and actually execute. And you, on the top of that, I was able to draw from your confidence into my own lack of confidence in order to execute and investing. One of my very good friends and clients, for years has been my client. He's a great guy, super intelligent, very risk averse. Like for him, anything risk is almost a no. OCD, right? He told me, if it wasn't for you, he said, he didn't say that, I cannot, because I got to know you, I was able to build the confidence that this is doable. And you gave me that confidence. And I don't think if it was, I've came across other people in my life, not in real estate, any different things, they never gave me that confidence. So it's not just you having systems and processes. He said it's you specifically, Danny. And I don't think if I have met you, I would have invested in real estate, because you were the right persona for my challenges as a person, as an investor. I am not trying to make me look great or to show off, which is nice, but that's not the point. The point is you got to find that person. And you know what? Many times it's very affordable and help you avoid mistakes, which is great. But it's not just about avoiding mistakes. It's also having that resource you can tap into again and again and again, so you can navigate your situations. Remember what I said earlier. There will be a lot of challenges, obstacles, and situations when we are investing. How easy, how great is it to have someone on your corner supporting you, and better yet, someone that you know and you can trust, and you know that they'll give you an honest answer, assuming that the person is, that will help you propel and advance your investment journey. So if you don't have that guidance, find it. The challenge with a lot of information out there, if you are a YouTube user like myself, I have to run through so many minutes of BS and promotions, and only to get to the core. And many times they say nothing until I get one good minute, and oh my God, so much time wasted, and very frustrating. You get it. I know you're familiar with that. So having that resource, the guidance, could help you quite a bit. We're almost done, and I want to give you my little secret, which is unbelievably simple secret that most people don't understand. It's so simple that they have hard time following. The secret is this. If I refine it, there are truly two main ingredients that I look for in investing. And those ingredients are quality property and hold for long term. I'll repeat that because I know it's confusing. Quality property, hold for the long term. Let me elaborate a little bit. Many times I see investors that are attracted to the not so nice piece of property in not so great area of the metro of the city, and it's old, and it's not very good schools, and this such the potential tenants in the area are challenged, and so on. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with those properties. There's nothing wrong, right? those kind of properties will generate what I call much more noise in the system, right? It will be harder to maybe to lease and to maintain stability of income. And if it's an older home, many times when something breaks or major component, it's not just replacing that component, it is updating to new building codes, making it more expensive. Like a roof, it's no longer just a roof, and you need to add few layers and this and that, and restrainers and strengthening and whatever. If it's the water heater, it's not just a water heater. You need to raise it, you need to put straps, you need expansion tank, and so on, right? That water heater that should have cost $900, it's now $1,500 because there's a lot more to do. Just as an example, right? You probably have more vacancies, more turnover. All that creates much more noise in the system. If you are understanding this is the rule of engagement, and you know how to operate, and you have the patience and understanding and financial bandwidth to navigate this kind of an investment, then you'll do fine, right? The problem is that many times that you are looking for the passive investment, or people are looking, not you specifically, for passive investment, ending up with a property there's continuously problems. And guess what? When you have a property where there's continuous problems, maintenance, leasing, vacancy, late, eviction, etc., you are never to blame. The owner is never to be blamed. Never. Whose blame is it? You got it. The property manager is crook, is cheating, is a jerk, knows nothing. The fact that this is a high noise generating type of an investment never comes into consideration. It's always the property manager's fault, right? Why am I saying this? Because, like I said earlier, boring real estate, when you buy a nice house in a nice community with kind of tenants that can afford the rent, it's not about eliminating those challenges and issues and problems. It's about minimizing them. When I say minimizing, I'm talking about the frequency of the problems. I'm talking about the loudness of those problems, how crazy they are, right? And if you are understanding that if you buy quality property, you will probably have a little bit more peaceful life, and you also won't feel like if you're failing at it, then you'll be able to duplicate and buy more quality properties over time, right? So quality, so simple, and so many people just don't know how to do it. Long term, when you buy long term, you are inherently hedging against economical downturns, right? Because you're holding it long term. And when I say long term, I would say 5 at least, preferably 10, preferably 7, 10 or more is better. Because in 10 years, you will have a downturn, right? And in 10 years, the economy will go up and down and things will happen. Excuse me. And your property is just sitting there, riding through the storm that's coming through right now. And you're like, whatever, I'll wait, I'll be patient, right? And if the storms happen, the financial storm happens to take place exactly in 10 years, when you were planning on selling that property and now it's not a good time, guess what? Hang in there. Wait a little bit longer, a few more years. It's okay. Historically speaking, of course, there's no guarantees. I think all of you know what real estate did in the US historically speaking, and it's on average, in most cases, or good quality properties do better than inflation, right? So that's just to show you that you buy quality and you keep it for the long term, meaning hedging, and you're not very nervous or freaking out or doing stupid decisions when the first sign of, or the second or the fifth sign of economic downturn or challenging economical time, and you just ride it through, you'll be fine, right? You'll be fine. So keep that in mind. Quality long term. I know it's tricky to understand. I'm going to skip that just because we have running kind of out of time. I want to share with you some of our resources, and we're going to open it to questions, of course, on this conversation. So I have a YouTube channel with a lot of videos very much like this one. Information, knowledge, sharing, not very good with sales pitch. Um, I do have a podcast, very similar content as well. We do have a kind of our own small Facebook group that we like to share in order to continue the conversation beyond the session of today. And of course, we have our website and property website, etc. If you want to if you stuck all the way to now, I want to give you a gift as a small token of appreciation. It's free. There is an ebook that I wrote that talks about different things I didn't cover today. Very simple read, very common sense, very kind of helpful guide, kind of an ebook. So you can get that, plus a list of resources that we put together over the years, maybe like 90 of them, from podcasts to known websites to less known websites that I think could be great tools for property managers. And then for those of you who are lazy or spoiled, I get you. I know you. I'm familiar with that. We also curated like 10 videos from my channel that what we think are the top ones. You can get access to all those for free. It does cost money. If you go on our website on simplydoit.net/simplydoitgifts and use the promo code, which is simplydoit10, and you'll get it all those nice things to you, to benefit, to read, to enrich your knowledge about investing. I want to remind you of the events that are coming up. In 1 week, we're going to have a conversation by me about LLCs. We're going to have in 2 weeks a conversation how to elevate your real estate investing and yourself by kind of going beyond the basics. And for those of you who are in Southern California, we are meeting in person, like the old days. We haven't done that for a while. I'm excited about that, in person, to talk about investing. Of course, we're going to do a little bit of networking. I'm bringing a friend who's a local veteran, Orange County broker, and very experienced real estate investors to share about the local market. I'm going to talk about different things for beginners and for not beginners, and nice stuff coming up May 8th. We have some time. You are most welcome. It's free, by the way. All right, here's my contact information. I'm going to stop sharing and switch over. Give me a second here. Okay. 1 second. Okay, very good. Let me dive into the questions here. Okay, recording. If someone wants recording, let the team at Real Estate IQ know, or reach out to us and they'll share with you the recording of previous sessions. Recorded. I'm going through recording. Recorded. Okay, hang on. Okay. Ooh, my favorite questions of the times we are in. Okay. The question is, how do we navigate economics and political influence, political uncertainties? Thank you very much for Tara. Tara, great question. This is kind of, there's always those kind of questions that I see coming up more and more in certain, periods. This is one of them. I'll share with you my perception. Okay, this is my take, and this is how I operate under this kind of understanding. Personally, I do think that what Trump is doing with our economy right now is very good for the long term. Is really shaking down the house in many ways, and I think it will make our economy stronger in the future. Future being at least 6 months, maybe longer, right? So not all those plays. You never know if a play that he's doing is more political or more financial or a combination. I don't know, but you can definitely see that there's a lot of changes on the government level, and that trickles to government employees, and it trickles to the atmosphere that we're facing, and it trickles to companies that are benefiting from government contracts, etc. Very, very, and it's like everywhere and big moves. I get it, obviously. What can I do with it? Now let me tell you how I interpret those things. I do believe it long term. It is actually those moves are going to benefit our economy long term. That's just my take. Right now, that creates a lot of uncertainty with people, consumers, etc. Times of uncertainty for me are great times to be a buyer of real estate if you are in that position, right? So that means if you are looking to invest in real estate right now, and I can tell you from first-hand experience of the past 2-ish months or so, maybe a bit more, I am seeing and I'm getting, and we are doing deals that I have not seen on opportunities for years. In the US at large, we are seeing on the data level, technically, there's more demand for housing than supply, right? So that should be kind of an interesting situation where it's a seller's market and not the buyer's market. So that's kind of at the top. Right now, because of the economical uncertainties created by the political landscaping that Trump is generating, we're seeing a lot of people saying, wait, what's happening here? And when times of uncertainty, people tend to not do anything, not buy and not sell. Of course, people are buying and selling. I'm just saying consumers are usually hunkering down. Can't blame them. That's okay. So that means if we are on the data level, a lot of demand and small and low supply, we are seeing on a more specific level a shift. In many markets, not everywhere, we are seeing a shift towards buyer's market versus leaning towards seller's market. If you're a buyer, when do you want to buy, right? I want to buy when it's a buyer's market, like right now. I can tell you that a lot of those agents and sellers are more receptive to our offers right now, which is not always been the case. That's a proof for me that I'm pulling the trigger on what I'm saying, and it is working. I get more responses, I get more engagement, and then hopefully those leads to transactions. So right then, I'm leveraging the current times to our buyers. On the top of that, what helps as well, or kind of helps my position as more of a buyer side, is the fact that the higher interest rate are discouraging people from buying as well, or the affordability is down. So that kind of helps my mission on a buyer side, right? Again, if I'm a seller, I'm a little bit more challenged. I have to be ready for longer time to sell, and in some markets even we have seen some corrections going down on prices. Always check what the local market is behaving, because I can tell you one of the markets we are in is not exactly behaving like I just described. There's still more of a seller's market than a buyer's market on good properties, right? On good properties. So in many ways, times of uncertainty, I think, are amazing times to be a buyer. I am still a huge believer in the US economy, right? And the local markets, huge believer. Even if we're going through some challenging times, I think that what will happen is we now get better pricing. The cash flow will suffer, assuming we're buying with financing, will suffer because of the higher interest rate. Later this year, 2026, when we see the interest rate hopefully go down even a little bit, not to 3 or 4% that we saw at COVID, but let's just say 6-ish, upper 5s, and I can refinance even saving a 0.75% on my interest rate, improving my cash flow, locking the price that I have when I bought in March of 2025, and this is now, I don't know, November of 2025 or March of 2026. I'm still enjoying the buying power of now, knowing I will have the opportunity, assuming I will have the opportunity to refinance and improve my cash flow. And then my anticipation, when the economy strengthens again, let's just say in 6 months or a year, less uncertainty, less fear, and maybe the interest rate will go down a little bit. Buyers will come back. What's going to happen when buyers are going to come back? You know that prices are probably going to start rising, because remember, at the top, we're still seeing the demand for housing is still much higher than the supply. So that's kind of where we are when we get to that point. And by the way, usually times, it's kind of funny that we have a double win here. Usually in times of uncertainty, the rental market gets stronger. So right now, if I buy properties, the rental market is actually could work in my favor, because that uncertainty pushes people to shift people to being renters versus buyers. So in my personal opinion, this is a very good time to be a buyer relatively to what we've seen in the past few years. And this is how I operate. And I, lack of a better term, when it comes to the higher interest rate, I suck it up. It's only an interest rate. I'm not married to it. I'll have the opportunity to refinance. I'll have something, I am more attractive to the pricing that I can get now to another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year in payments, right? I see the big picture. A lot of people are so fixated about the interest rate, they're losing sight of the big picture. So Tara, I hope that helps with the what you were asking, your question. What do you take care of your rentals reliability? I'm not sure. So Satish Gupta, if you can rephrase your question, I'll be happy to come back to it. Okay. So there's a question about, I heard that getting a partner is bad in real estate because money changes people. I agree. When I talked about the partner, I didn't say invest with a partner. What I meant is invite a partner for the journey, someone that you can work with, but you're buying your house, he or she are buying their house, you're not investing together. Okay, that's what I meant when I say the partner. I mean a partner for the journey, not a partner for the investment. As for money changes people, there's good examples and bad examples. I think that it really depends on how you address it. I will tell you that when I see those partners coming to me, meaning they're not a journey partners, they're actually investment partners, and they're gonna invest together, I always ask them, do you have any agreement between you guys? Usually the answer is no. And then I tell them again, you must, right? I don't hold them accountable for it, but I say you must have an agreement. And that agreement can be as simple as have a sit down and write 5, 10, 20 scenarios. What happens if, right? Write them down. Get 10 of them, 20 of them, 5 of them, more than 20, and then do a summary and sign. And let me tell you what this document means for me. It doesn't mean that this is a legal strong bonding document. It says we are syncing, we talk things through, and when we hit a situation we may that is not documented, at least we have what we call the spirit of our agreement. But we air those things out up front, which is maybe a little bit inconvenient or inconvenience now, but will save you a huge inconvenience or a blow up later. So if you are thinking about a partner, you can go to your partner and say, I heard this crazy guy with an accent say, you must do an agreement. Now, you can always take that agreement to an attorney and do a full agreement, no problem. But between not doing anything and going to an attorney and doing a full legal agreement, at least have some sort of a memorandum that you talk things through, you write it down, you summarize it, simple summary, you sign so you know this is the version, right? For me, signature is just saying this is the final version, and you are on the same page, literally, right? Guess what? Most people don't. And then when they come to that situation later on as partners, oh, I thought you said I meant what I meant. No documents. No, the document, the signed document is the supportive tool for us to to for a situation when we don't agree or we don't see things the same way. So keep that in mind. By the way, I'm going to wrap up in 10 minutes because I have another web session in 40 minutes from now, and I need to prepare too. Okay. What is your motivation to conduct these webinars? Okay, couple of things. First, I enjoy it. I really enjoy standing here, talking, teaching, sharing. I hope you can see that my style is sharing. So I truly enjoyed this. The financial incentive or the what I may get out of it is hopefully one of you says, you know what, this guy looks like he knows what he's talking about. He really talks to the things that I'm challenging with. Maybe I'll reach out to it and have a conversation with him and see if we can work together, right? So my kind of hidden agenda here, you may end up saying, I want to invest in real estate. I'm stuck. I'm not sure what to do. I'll reach out to this guy. I should have added a slide saying reach out. Usually I do that. Reach out and have a conversation with us. And in that conversation, we call it a welcome session. 30 to 45 minutes. We'll go through your challenges, your concerns, your fears, questions about us, questions about how we operate, etc. And we may end up working together, and you may end up being a client. That'll be nice, right? We don't sell you anything on the session. We don't ask you for personal data or anything like that. It truly is to build that relationship, hoping one of you or all of you become our clients. If you become our clients, that will benefit us. But along the way, you need to know who you're dealing with. You need to feel comfortable. If you're going to come to a session with me, I hope you will pay attention to the slide on asking questions or knowing how to ask questions. That's my financial motivation. But truth to be told, I'm enjoying this. If the market is bad, is it still good to accumulate properties and not stop? Interesting question. I'll just answer that for 20 plus years, I've never not been in a buying mode. Always been in a buying mode. Every market, every single market generate opportunities. So when I say I'm seeing a lot of interesting opportunities these days, it's not because I just reach out and I get them. I like this property. They're asking a little bit too much. It's been sitting on the market for some time. Will they be open to do this kind of a transaction or that kind of a transaction? So a lot of it is kind of building or constructing or forming together. It's not just here it is, right? So we engage in a pre-conversation of, are you open to this? Can you do that? Different things. And then we're like, okay, this now could work. Let's go after it, or let's make an offer, make it official. But every market has opportunities. Every market has opportunities. Just about knowing to identify them. Not always easy. Not getting discouraged and trying to find your niche or your way in a certain market. So for me, the term bad market is an interesting terminology because I really don't think there's a bad market. I think there's different opportunities. How do you spot early market red flags? Okay. I don't. I just ride it through. Long term, quality, long term. I really don't care. The minute I do my analysis on buying, on choosing the market, the minute I hold that properties, I tend to just ride it throughout whatever market that will show up. I've had properties for more than 20 years, up and down. I have a property that I bought for $190,000. It went all the way down to $94,500. $94,500. That's less than half, right? I still have it. Now it's $350. I don't know, getting to close to 400-ish, $375, give or take. I haven't checked for a while. So I'm just riding it through. So signs are, for me, I'm just saying the question was addressed to me. I'm telling you how I look at it. I kind of holding long term. The minute sign right now, signals for me are not that. I don't care about them. I just ride it through. So if it's my question is not exactly what you were hoping hoping to hear. Ooh, thank you for sharing your wealth of experience. You mentioned selecting quality properties. How do you draw the line from selecting too much quality in a property, aka property that is expensive, it's no longer cash flowing? How do you draw the line from selecting too much quality in a property? I'm not sure I know, aka a property that is so expensive it is no longer cash flows. Okay, when I'm choosing a property where let's just, in simple terms, there are multiple factors involved when making a decisions about which property to select, right? There's parameters that are related to the property, the parameters that are related to the financial aspect of the property, the parameters that are not related to either one, but more for the person who's buying it, right? We try, and it's not an easy task to make sure all those facets work hand in hand. So for example, I have a client that the couple that bought with me more than 10 years ago, and we had a conversation 2 days ago. When we started talking about quads, fourplexes, because they asked me about it, I immediately explained to them a couple of things about fourplexes and quad, which, by the way, there's a whole chapter on my ebook that really clarifies all those challenges with quads and fourplexes that I highly suggest you read, because I didn't see anybody else talking about it. And I immediately told them, this is not for you, because I know them well. I know their personality. I know how impatient he can be. And I told him, listen, your personality is not a good fit for quads and fourplexes. It will drive you nuts, and that is not healthy. And she immediately says she agreed, because I know him, right? And she agreed, and we stopped the conversation, right? So you see, has nothing to do with the property or the area or the financials, right? It's not a good fit. So we have to juggle all those things. Generally speaking, when it's just a property, I either want to see strong cash flow, like that's on one end of the scale, or a lot of equity on the other end of the scale. But the reality is going to be always somewhere in between. So let me give you an example of a house, maybe it's still available, that we considered through those creative things that I'm seeing right now. Metro Nashville, very close to the city of Nashville, which we haven't purchased in close to the city of Nashville for 3 years probably, because it's gotten so expensive. So we're kind of more buying on the quote unquote not outskirts, but less closer to Nashville itself. So I'm talking about a house in a good area that we know, 20 minutes from Nashville, maybe 25, build, I can't remember, in the past 10 years. There's a problematic situation with the owner, that he or she needs to do a short sale. Short sale, in short, in a sentence, is when you sell the house below the mortgage amount, right? So this house they owe $550, and we're trying to buy it for $450, $100,000 below the mortgage amount. That's why it's called short sale. The problem with such a transaction, the lender needs to approve, or they're willing to get the cut, to do a short and sell it in short. So this house, if there's nothing wrong with it except that situation. If you rent it in today's interest rate, you will be breaking even, give or take, breaking even, right? Maybe we can optimize it a little bit and have a very small positive cash flow. So it's not that an exciting opportunity. However, if you're buying it about 100,000 below market value, and we have comps that showing the market value, and we have houses in the community that are selling for more, or for more per square feet, right? You can see that 550 is not it's not crazy. And so you have $100,000 ish in equity from day one. And I know very well that the closer you are to Nashville, the better, or the higher likelihood your house will appreciate faster, because I've seen that happening. Good area, good metro, excellent house, distress seller, let's just call it break even, okay, but a lot of equity. So what is the answer? One investor will say, no way, right? No cash flow, I'm not interested. One investor says, I don't care about cash flow. I see the equity, the potential will go in. One will say, too much hustle for me with the short sale. It's not my, I don't want to deal with it, right? So that's where you see there's the deal, there's the analysis, and there's the personality. And that's where we're trying to combine all those things. So hopefully it's a very good question. I hope I was able to answer it as you meant to asking. And thank you very much for asking, my friend. How to contact me? Okay. Okay, so I put my our email and my website and everything. If you go, simply do it as it's written here. If you can see, or my name, or over here, anywhere online, you will get to either our webpage, our Facebook, or our YouTube, anywhere. So I'm like Danny and Simply Do It and real estate. The chances you will find someone like this with this name is very, very small. So thank you for asking. I will say this. Anyone who's interested in having a conversation with us, we usually do it like this, online, on the phone, in person. If you're in Southern California, we call it a welcome session. It's just having conversation to go over your questions, concerns, challenges, specific situation, and then see if what you're trying to do is a good fit for both of us. On that conversation, we're not going to sell your property. We're not probably even going to talk about a specific property. We're not going to sell you a boot camp. You know, I may not even remember to invite you to any of the webinars or sessions that are coming up, just because it's not on my mind. We're not going to ask you personal questions. We are going to send you a pre-meeting intake that takes about 4, maybe even 5 minutes to complete. And it asks you a few questions. Some are very easy to answer. Some require a little bit of thinking as a preparation for the meeting itself, right? So if you want to meet with me, you look us online, you reach out, we'll send you the intake, you complete the intake, we set up a time, have a conversation. In that conversation, there's only one agenda. If what we do and what you're looking to accomplish is a good fit, that's it. And if you are not interested in working with us after the conversation, that's okay. And if you have some, many times those conversations, the person I'm speaking to start bringing things up. I have this property. I'm not sure. Should I sell? I want to sell. If I sell, should I do 1031 exchange? But 1031, I thought it's this. So sometimes those conversations are starting to put things in a structure. And even if there's not an immediate engagement of working together, I may provide you with some suggestions or answers for you to start putting the tracks in order to be ready for us to work together. For example, you need help listing your house in Houston, but you don't know who to work with. I can help you with that, just as an example. Even in Oklahoma City, I can help you, right? And when should you list it? And what should you do? And you know what? You want to talk about 1031 exchange? We have a whole, I can explain to you how a 1031 exchange typically works. Maybe you do know, maybe you don't. A lot of people don't fully understand 1031 exchanges. They have a notion, but then I'll tell you how we are conducting 1031 exchange, what other things we added to the process of 1031 exchange to optimize its success. We're not touching the 1031 exchange regulation, protocol, but we are doing few things in order to navigate and increase the success of a 1031 exchange. I'm using that as an example of things that do come up during the conversations and may not result in an immediate us starting to work together, but maybe put the tracks to that place. So thank you very much for everyone, for your questions, for your time. It is an hour and a half after I started. If someone still doesn't believe I like to talk about those things from your questions, this is the proof. And then I have to wrap it up because I have another sessions like this one in 25 minutes. Have a terrific rest of your day. I hope to see you here on our next webinar. And for those of you who are in Southern California, to see you as well on our May event. And if you are flying out to our event. That'll be a really nice gesture. I'll be happy to meet with you in person over lunch or dinner or drinks or something outside the event as well. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you for the questions. Bye-bye, everyone.